Hello there everybody and welcome back to Movie Squirm. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 2025 film Shiver Me Timbers, and this is directed by Paul Stephen Mann and stars Amy Mackey and Brendan Nelson. When a mini meteor travels to Earth and lands in an old man's smoke pipe, it transforms him into the murderous Popeye. Now this is actually the third Popeye movie to come out within the space of about 2 or 3 months there, which is quite unbelievable when you think about it. But this is what's happening with these public domain characters now. Everyone's turning them into horror movies. And whilst the other two Popeye films weren't great, I did find some positives with them. I thought there was a little bit of heart put into them, a little bit of effort here and there, and there were things to like, despite them having so many negatives as well. So I went into this one thinking maybe there'll be something here with, as a slasher fan anyway, and, I can just tolerate really what was on screen. Maybe there'll be something. How wrong was I? I always like to start my reviews with positives, guys, but man, I was really scraping the bottom of the barrel here to think of any positives, any redeeming factors about this movie. And the slasher fan inside me could get along with it when the kills were happening and stuff, even though the kills weren't great. I'll speak about them more in a minute, but if you're a slasher fan like me, maybe that will push you to the finish line. There's also a really fun final showdown scene, even though most of it gets ruined, but when it starts off, it made me chuckle a little bit. I will speak about this in due course because there's a big negative attached to it. But also, this movie is only 73 minutes long. Now, that is more of a negative, really, because it just makes you not want to spend any more time in this movie. But what I will say is, as bad as it is, and as much as I went enjoying this film, it wasn't too much of a drag, because it was probably even less than 73 minutes with the credits started rolling and stuff. So you're not going to have to hang around too long there. Right, there's the good stuff over with. Let's talk shit. First off, I just didn't get on board with the story and what they were trying to do here. Kudos for them for not doing just something very, very simple about Popeye killing people and that's it, with no backstory whatsoever. But basically, it still is that. They just play on this whole meteor shower type thing because all these characters have come to watch the meteor shower and get stoned and drink alcohol. But it just shows the meteor showers and tries to get characters to talk about the meteor shower, and you just don't care. It's like, where the hell did they pluck this idea from? Seriously though, they just keep putting this horrible computerized graphic on the screen and characters keep pointing to it and it's just comets flying across the sky, but it looks awful. It's such an eyesore. And I just hated the way this came onto the movie. Like every 5 minutes it was happening all the time. Like, we'll cut from a scene and then we'll show this comet flying through the sky and no one cares. It just became so frustrating and broke up any pace that it was gathering, which wasn't a lot, to basically edit this image in and just throw you off again. And it's like, can we just get back to the movie, even though I don't really care too much? Please stop showing me this damn comet flying through the sky. And each time it's interlocked with different scores that just appear into the movie. It's not the same score that we hear the first time. There's like 5 or 6 different scores going on here. And not one of them sounded good. They all sounded pretty damn awful and just grate on you. And you're like, man, what the hell is hitting my ears here? It all just feels so out of sync with the movie as well. And I really feel like I'm just going on a rant here, but this is how I felt about the film. I can usually just get into bad slashes and stuff, but this one, man, it was just, there was hardly any redeeming factors here. However, my biggest negative with this movie, guys, was the acting and the characters. Now, the last 2 Popeye movies haven't had the best acting or nothing, but they are like way better than the actors in this movie. And even Mickey's Mousetrap, which is the dregs of society when it comes to these films, them actors in that movie were slightly better than these ones. Yeah, it was just awful dialogue. The line delivery and everything was just so off. It felt like these characters or these actors or whatever had just met that day and never interacted with each other before, and we're meant to believe that they're all best friends. It was just so awful to listen to and to watch. I mean, I don't think there was any good actors in this movie whatsoever. The old guy in the wheelchair was okay later on in the movie, but I've got to be honest, I just hated every single character. One conversation on the beach with these two characters early on in the movie was them talking about living life and just catching up with each other. And one of them turns around and says, if you don't look around once in a while, you may miss something. And the other one turned around to him and goes, that's so bad. Like, you know, and I'm just thinking, has he just took a quote directly out of Ferris Bueller's Day Off right there? Come on. They're talking about movies too, because this takes place in the mid-80s, and one of them says, have you seen the Critters trailer yet? And the other one, this other guy says, oh, little monsters in space. And they all start laughing hysterically, and I'm just like, am I meant to laugh along with these characters now? There's nothing worse than seeing people laughing hysterics at something in a movie that isn't funny. And I was just trying to get my head around, did the guy actually say that, where they're all laughing, you know, thinking it's the most hilarious thing they've ever heard. The dialogue is awful. Getting on to Popeye himself, I thought he looked absolutely awful. I mean, the face was so cartoonish. It looked like they had just CGI'd his face onto this guy walking around. I can't quite work out what the hell it was, to be honest, but it just looked a total mess. And Popeye the Slayer Man, one of my biggest negatives about that film was the look of Popeye, because he looked like the Michelin Man, but my God, I think I preferred his look in that movie to this one. We're talking about the kills that Popeye does here. I mean, they were slightly redeemable within the movie, and some slasher fans may like it, but I still think the majority of them were really bad. At one point, this guy's head, I think he punched through this guy's head and it exploded or something, and there were just like CGI bones flying onto the screen with CGI blood. And I just thought, man, that looks like something straight out of Mortal Kombat from the early 1995, I think that movie was. That's what it looked like, but worse. I mean, maybe think on more of the level of Anaconda there, but another kill in this movie was this meteor that goes into Popeye's pipe and makes him mutated. It happens to go through one of the characters' heads like a bullet. And it's just this CGI hole in his head, and he stood there with blood coming out, and I'm like, have I really just seen that in a Popeye movie? A meteor, a mini meteor just took someone out by penetrating their head. I was like, what the hell? Where did that come from? And it just felt so lazy. I mean, Popeye didn't even have to do nothing there. It's just a random thing that takes a character out. Honestly, in one scene in this movie, this guy is on the toilet and Popeye walks in, grabs his head, and then we just see this gore flying everywhere, all this blood and gore. And I'm like, what's going on here? I couldn't even tell what was happening. And in the end, he eventually pulls this guy's head off. And later on, these characters come along and find the body, and Popeye has actually shit down the guy's neck. So it's just a headless body and a big pile of shit sitting on top of their head. And I was just like, what the hell is this? And it really reminded me of Teddy from Stand By Me, where he says he's going to shit down the neck of Milo the Junkman.
Ah! I'm going to rip your head off and shit down your neck! No!
And believe it or not, guys, another person's head is took off in this movie, and they're looking around like this while the head is taken off. It's just so ridiculous. Like I said, there was this one fun moment towards the end of the climax of the movie where this girl, the female protagonist in this movie, gets a big gigantic circular saw and goes at Popeye because she wants to rescue her friend, and she says, "Get away from her, you prick." I was like, oh, we're directly ripping off Aliens now. And what ensues after that is the most PS1 style graphics I've ever seen in a movie. Like, she is just flying at Popeye with this circular saw, and there's blood and stuff squirting everywhere, but it's like a video game animation, like he's an NPC in a video game, just moving everywhere and stuff. It's just so bad. I can't even describe what it was. It was one of the worst looking things I've ever seen in a movie ever. It was horrific. But that's when it hit me. When she said that line that was basically from Aliens, it hit me. And I just thought, is this trying to be a horror comedy here? And that took me nearly the entire runtime of the film to realise that, because I thought back and thought, were them characters trying to be funny, especially with the decapitated head and the girl looking around and stuff like that? And then, but it wasn't funny. It's never funny. The characters are trying way too hard to be serious in their dialogue for it to come across funny. But then I thought back and thought they were actually trying to have a comedy horror here, which just didn't work because I never laughed once until towards the end. And this is something I would like these movies to do more. There's way too many serious public domain horror movies out there that go for the sinister dark path. I recently just watched Peter Man's Neverland Nightmare, and that was one of the darkest films I've seen in years. So I would like them to do this more often, but at least make it funny, guys. Don't make me realise in the last couple of minutes that you were actually going for that horror comedy angle. And it also got me thinking, were they trying to have some nostalgia kicks here to movies that came out in 1986? Because this movie actually takes place in 1986. So we have the Ferris Bueller quote, then we have the whole Corey Feldman shitting down your neck kill scene, and then we have this Aliens quote, and then we even have an Evil Dead quote as well that is involved in nearly the last scene, although that movie was 1987, so maybe they were going for that. I don't know. Maybe it's a coincidence. I mean, man, it's just a total mess, but we have all them old horror cliches thrown in there, but my worst one ever is when someone hurts their leg and can't walk and the killer is catching up with them. But honest to God, this is done in the worst possible way here, because there's a character who's hurt her leg and she is crawling on all fours going, help me, oh, help me. Oh. And I'm just like, and it goes on for quite a while. I'm like, oh my God, please just end the movie now. It was already bad, and then you throw that motherfucker in there just crawling around helpless. Please, it was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I'm just going to go ahead and rate this movie now. I'm going to give Shiver Me Timbers a 1.5 out of 10, and that is probably being a little bit generous. I usually like to give independent movies a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, but sometimes with these public domain horror movies, they're just there to make the quick buck, and the heart isn't really in it. But with the last two Popeye movies, I could see some effort put in and stuff. But this and Mickey's Mousetrap, yeah, I don't think they really cared all that much, to be honest. Maybe they did, I don't know. But from what I seen, it just looked like a quick buck. And, you know, fair play to them. If they make their money and stuff, that's up to them. But look, if you didn't like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, remember that movie was getting touted as one of the worst movies ever made? It's the fucking Godfather 2 compared to this. Okay, guys, hope you all enjoyed this review. What do you think of Shiver Me Timbers? If you've seen it, you plan on seeing it. If you want more 2025 horror movie reviews, including the other two Popeye movies that I've done on this channel, it'll be in the link down below. Thanks so much, guys. You take care, and I'll see you all in the next video.